Hello! Welcome to this week's video. For this week, I'm doing my book haul for the month of July. These are a few books that I took from that giant TBR mountain and to show off to you. Then it's going to go to that TBR mountain and books from perspective from that TBR mountain off screen is going to go up there. So, in the hopes of lessening some piles somewhere. And I'm also going to have a giveaway at the end of this video, so stay tuned for that. Now, the first book I'm going to show off is a trilogy from Christopher Pike, who I remember. He was is he still alive? I'm not sure. But he was a very prolific YA author. He was sort of the counterpart to R.L. Stine and the Fear Street books. You were either an R.L. Stine girl or you were a Christopher Pike girl. And I remember my sister loved Christopher Pike's books. So I found this, and I was very intrigued by the back and the fact that it's a 3-book set. So let's read the back blurb. She won't let them forget. Sherry Cooper wakes up dead. The last thing she can remember is falling from a balcony during her friend's party. Her death has been ruled a suicide, but Sherry knows she was murdered, and her closest friends are now suspects. As she tries to find her killer from the other side, she discovers her friends may not have been so loyal to her after all. Now Sherry is not just out for justice, she's out for revenge. So definitely looking forward to that. And it's the 3 books, Remember Me, The Return, and The Last Story. So I think that, is it a continuing story? Is it like this blurb sort of played out through all 3 stories? Or do we find out who did it in the first story and the next 2 stories are something different? I don't know. We shall see. Next we have the first of the most gorgeous classics that I have ever seen. I want to get as many of them as I can. I found this in a library book sale, and it is The Three Musketeers by Alexandre Dumas, and that in the Paper Mill Press edition. I had not heard of these editions before this, so I saw this on the table and absolutely loved how beautiful it looks. I mean, look at that. It's like metallic. And just, oh, look at how pretty! It's so pretty. It's so pretty. And then there's the back. And just, all for one and one for all. And I have a classic, I believe I have the classic edition somewhere, like this. I have like another edition of this classic somewhere on my TBR, because I want to be able to read it and annotate it. But I don't want to do that to this edition because it's so pretty. Look at how pretty. So I have a Jane Eyre edition of this. I don't know if I've shown you that already or if it's still to come, but look how gorgeous that is. I don't think the blurb is in here, but it's the Three Musketeers. It's all for one, one for all. During the 3 sort of, I guess, soldiers during some French, is it Louis the 14th? and they're sort of the kind of like the French sort of like guards or like soldiers or what have you, and the adventures that they go on, and in the name of, I guess, protecting the king. And so, and I absolutely loved, of course, the '90s movie with Kiefer Sutherland, Charlie Sheen, Oliver Platt, Chris O'Donnell. Hmm? Is there somebody I'm missing? And the Man in the Iron Mask with Jeremy Irons, Leonardo DiCaprio, John Malkovich, and Gerard Depardieu, and Gabriel Byrne. Absolutely love those two movies. Cannot wait to read the actual like source material. So here we go. It's such a beautiful cover. Next we have The Virgin's Tale by Sherry Smith, a novel of ancient Rome. Rome, 63 BC. Offered up by her parents at the age of 6 to become a Vestal Virgin, one of 6 hand-picked women who symbolically protected the Roman Republic, Amelia has spent her entire adult life in the all-female Temple of Vesta, under the strictest guard. But temptation has led her to commit a mortal sin, and she is sentenced to death as virgins must die, buried alive in a pitch-black tomb. As the end draws near, Amelia looks back over her claustrophobic, restricted life, the intense friendships she's formed, the implacable enemies she's made, and finally the passionate but forbidden romance which caused her downfall and yet may be her only hope. And I remember one of my favorite miniseries is Empire, and it's with Jonathan Cake, Santiago Cabrera, and Emily Blunt. And Emily Blunt plays a Vestal Virgin who falls in love with Santiago Cabrera's character, who is the Octavius who is to replace Caesar after Caesar is murdered. I love that miniseries so much, and I loved her character so much. So very interested to sort of continue sort of that exploration of the sort of that world in this. Next we have a book that I found in Kensington Market, which Kensington Market is a neighborhood in Toronto, and it used to be a very sort of kitschy, artsy, fartsy, bohemian kind of type of neighborhood. Now it's mostly restaurants. And it's not sort of the same as I remember it being in the 80s. But they did have like this one little shop with a few books that I was very happy to find, and I found this book in it. Your Mouth is Lovely by Nancy Richler. And let's read the back blurb. Siberia, 1911. Miriam, a young Jewish woman imprisoned for subversive activities during the 1905 Russian Revolution, weaves the astonishing tale of her life, the only legacy she can leave her little girl. As Miriam narrates the story of her childhood, she brings to life the teeming slums of Kiev and the shtetl in the last days of Imperial Russia, communities caught in the cross currents of traditional faith and the dawning revolutionary age. Written with haunting lyricism, Your Mouth is Lovely embraces the sweeping human drama of the era and shows how small choices, twists of fate, and betrayals can determine a particular life. So, very much looking forward to that. Next we have Emily Giffen's First Comes Love. And Emily Giffen is sort of a hit or miss for me. I liked her Something Borrowed and Something Blue. But there was another one that she wrote that I really did not like. And I want to see if the title is here because I can't. Love the One You're With, I think. It was the one where she was with this guy who she loved and was a perfectly like awesome guy, and then an old love from her past comes back and she's tempted to leave the guy that she's with to go with this old boyfriend. I did like Something Borrowed and I did like Something Blue, so I thought I'd give her another shot with First Comes Love. And let's read the back blurb. Growing up, Josie and Meredith Garland shared a loving, if sometimes contentious, relationship. Josie was impulsive, spirited, and outgoing. Meredith, hard-working, thoughtful, and reserved. But when tragedy strikes, their delicate bond is splintered. 15 years later, Josie and Meredith are in their late 30s, following very different paths. Josie, a first-grade teacher, is single, and this close to swearing off dating for good. What she wants more than the right guy, however, is to become a mother, a feeling that is heightened when her ex-boyfriend's daughter is assigned to her class. Determined to have the future she's always wanted, Josie decides to take matter into her own hands. On the outside, Meredith is the model daughter with the perfect life. A successful attorney, she's married to a wonderful man, and together they're raising a beautiful 4-year-old daughter. Yet lately Meredith feels dissatisfied and restless, secretly wondering if she chose the life that was expected of her rather than the one she truly desired. As the anniversary of their tragedy looms and painful secrets from the past begin to surface, Josie and Meredith must not only confront the issues that divide them, but also come to terms with their own choices. In their journey toward understanding and forgiveness, both sisters discover that they need each other more than they knew, and that in the search for true happiness, love always comes first. So, I don't understand this title in terms of it's not a romance. It's about female friendships. So I'm looking forward to reading it. I just think this is the wrong title for what the plot is. So we shall see how this goes. Next we have a book that I know many have heard about, and it is The Tattooist of Auschwitz, or The Tattooist of Auschwitz. Tattooist, however you pronounce it, of Auschwitz, by Heather Morris. And I'm going to read the back blurb, but let's just read the back blurb. In April 1942, Lael Sokolov, a Slovakian Jew, is forcibly transported to the concentration camps at Auschwitz-Birkenau. When his captors discover that he speaks several languages, he is put to work as a tattooer, the German word for tattooist, tasked with permanently marking his fellow prisoners. Imprisoned for more than 2.5 years, Lael witnesses horrific atrocities and barbarism, but also incredible acts of bravery and compassion. Risking his own life, he uses his privileged position to exchange jewels and money from murdered Jews for food to keep his fellow prisoners alive. One day in 1942, Lael, prisoner 32407, confronts a trembling young woman waiting in line to have the number 34902 tattooed on her arm. Her name is Gita, and in that first encounter, Lael vows to somehow survive the camp and marry her. A vivid, harrowing, and ultimately hopeful recreation of Lael Sokolov's experiences as the man who tattooed the arms of thousands of prisoners with what would become one of the most potent symbols of the Holocaust. The Tattooist of Auschwitz is also a testament to the endurance of love and humanity under the darkest possible conditions. I have heard some people. This is a novel, so it is fiction. However, I heard some people complain that this isn't realistic, because there's no way that Lael and this Gita could have had a romance in the camp and had like moments where they were like alone, sort of in the camp. Apparently there are moments where they're have like moments alone, I guess. um and I disagree with that, because I've heard of stories, real life stories, where people do have like individual interactions, uh sort of behind, like maybe like behind a building, or like in like in a room somewhere, where they have like conversations and they're like by themselves for like a moment. And like I've heard that all the time in like Holocaust memoirs and stuff. So like, is it just people who have a problem with any kind of romance in their fiction, like in terms of in their fiction, but when they're talking about like genuine like historical events, like they're basically saying that this is historically inaccurate because the romance never would have happened. I, I've heard of romances happening all the time in memoirs. In memoirs, I'm not talking about even like fictional novels, which I've written fictional novels, romance novels set in that world. My Resistance trilogy is set during um, the Holocaust, and I didn't have to make up much for that series that I wrote, because the historical accounts helped me write that book, write those books. Excuse me. There's 3 books in that series. Um, so I would disagree with those who say that some of this is historically inaccurate, using those arguments that they use. I don't know about the rest. Like, I don't know, because I haven't read the book. But yeah, like I would disagree that the romance aspect is a historical inaccuracy, because in memoirs and research that I have done, that stuff happened all the time. So, do they just not like romance in their historical fiction? Like that sounds like a you problem. So, we shall see. Next, we have Nora Roberts' High Noon. I don't remember if I read this book, but if I did, it was years and years ago. But yeah, let's just read the blurb here. Police Lieutenant Phoebe McNamara found her calling at an early age when a violent, unstable man broke into her family home, trapping and terrorizing them for hours. Now she's Savannah's top hostage negotiator, who puts her life on the line every day to defuse powder keg situations. Phoebe knows when to reach out and when to pull back, and when to jump in and take action, even if it means risking everything. It's satisfying work, and sometimes those skills come in handy at home when Phoebe deals with her agoraphobic mother, still traumatized by the break-in after all these years, and her precocious 7-year-old daughter Carly. It's exactly that heady combination of steely courage and sensitivity that first attracts Duncan Swift to Phoebe. After watching her talk one of his employees off a roof ledge, he's committed to keeping this intriguing take-charge woman in his life. Phoebe's used to working solo, but she's finding that no amount of negotiation can keep Duncan at arm's length. When she's grabbed by a man who throws a hood over her head and brutally assaults her in her own precinct house, yeesh, Phoebe can't help being deeply shaken. And when threatening messages appear on her doorstep, she's not just alarmed but frustrated. How do you go face to face with an opponent who refuses to look you in the eye? Now, with Duncan backing her up every step of the way, she must establish contact with the faceless tormentor who is determined to make her a hostage to fear before she becomes the final showdown. That was a long blurb. Yeah, again, I'm not a big fan of sort of romantic suspense, and Phoebe kind of sounds like she might be an unlikable character. Kind of always pushing Duncan away. Like, I don't know if this is like what's gonna happen. Like, always like pushing Duncan away and like being like mean to him or like rude to him, and he like doesn't take the hint and like leave her alone. And it's basically, if it's gonna be a case of like he wears her down or sort of something like that, which I don't really like those kinds of romances where the girl is either like very sort of curt and standoffish and doesn't want a relationship, but oh my god, all of a sudden she does. And the guy is like very, very pushy and refuses to take no for an answer, and then sort of wears her down to like, oh, now she does want to be with him. I don't know if that's what this is going to be, but I really don't like those kind of books. So, we shall say. Let me just get this bit here. Layla Meacham, Tumbleweeds. Loved Roses. Hated Titans. I think it was called Titans. Which was the Samantha and Nathan, Everybody Who Raised You is Garbage book. I hated that book. I hated that book so much. But I loved Roses so much that I'm willing to give her another try. So let's read the blurb for this one here. Okay. Recently orphaned 11-year-old Kathy Benson feels she has been dropped into a cultural and intellectual wasteland when she is forced to move from her academically privileged life in California to the small town of Kersey. Here in the Texas Panhandle, where the sport of football reigns supreme, she is quickly taken under the unlikely wings of up-and-coming gridiron stars and classmates John Caldwell and Trey Don Hall. I'm predicting a triangle is coming. Like herself, they are orphans with whom she forms a friendship and eventual love triangle that will determine the course of the rest of their lives. Taking the three friends through their growing up years until their high school graduations, when several tragic events uproot and break them apart, the novel expands to follow their careers and futures until they reunite in Kersey at 40 years of age. So, love triangle. If you don't like love triangles, I'm guessing you will not like this book. I am fine with love triangles. I am pretty much fine with all the tropes that booktubers like to claim that all readers hate. Because I find booktubers like to generalize a lot. And a lot of like blogs and things like to generalize a lot. That all readers hate secret babies, all readers hate cheating, all readers hate triangles. And it's like, no, you hate secret babies, you hate cheating, you hate triangles. And it's sort of like, speak for yourself kind of thing. Because I personally love love triangles. I love secret babies. I don't mind cheating depending on the circumstances. The next one is one of my absolute favorite authors, Naomi Reagan, an observant wife. And I believe it is the second book in, it is the second book in after the an unorthodox match, which I believe I talked about in my last book haul. This is the second book. In this rich and compassionate novel, Naomi Reagan continues the love story between the newly observant California girl Leah and ultra-Orthodox widower Yakov from an unorthodox match. From the joy of their wedding day, surrounded by supportive friends and family, Yakov and Leah are soon plunged into the complex reality of their new lives together as Yakov leaves his beloved yeshiva, I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, to work in the city, and Leah confronts the often agonizing restrictions imposed by religious laws governing even the most intimate moments of their married lives. Adding to their difficulties is the hostility of some in the community who continue to view Leah as a dangerous interloper, questioning her sincerity and adherence to religious laws and spreading outrageous rumors. In the midst of Yakov and Leah's heartfelt attempts to reach a balance between their human needs and their spiritual obligations, the discovery of a secret, forbidden relationship between Yakov's troubled teenage daughter, Shandeli, and a local boy precipitates a maelstrom of life-changing consequences for all. So, I am very much looking forward to this. Jeffite's daughter, which, Jeff's daughter? I always pronounced it Jeffite's daughter, but Jepchte. I have it on my keeper shelf. It's the first Naomi Reagan book that I read, and absolutely loved that book. Adored that book. So definitely looking forward to this book after, got to read an unorthodox match first, and then continue the story with that book there. And finally, we have Inez of My Soul by Isabel Allende. And I keep getting Isabel Allende books because the covers draw me in and the plots draw me in. And I just haven't read anything from her yet, but I just keep buying her books because I feel like I will love them. Even though I'm not sure of all of them, I hope not, but I know at least one book of hers that I saw mentioned, magical realism, and I really hate that. Magical realism does not work for me at all. I don't see the point. I don't understand the use of it. And, 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I hated that book. Not just because of the magical realism, definitely not just because of that. I thought most of the men in that book were absolute garbage. But the magical realism didn't help. So I really hope that not all of her books have magical realism, and if they do, that it's a very small part. Because I really don't like magical realism. I think it's just randomly bizarre to have it in there. Yeah, so let me just read this blurb before I go on a whole rant about magical realism and how much it annoys me. Okay. From Isabel Allende, author of novels beloved across the globe, comes a magisterial work of historical fiction that chronicles the astonishing life of Inez Suarez, a daring Spanish conquistadora who toiled to build the nation of Chile, and whose vital role has too often been neglected by history. Born into a poor family in Spain, Inez, a seamstress, finds herself condemned to a life of hard work without reward or hope for the future. It is the 16th century, the beginning of the Spanish conquest of the Americas, when her shiftless husband disappears to the New World. Inez uses the opportunity to search for him as an excuse to flee her stifling homeland and seek adventure. After her treacherous journey takes her to Peru, she learns that her husband has died in battle. Soon she begins a fiery love affair with a man who will change the course of her life, Pedro de Valdivia, war hero and field marshal to the famed Francisco Pizarro. Valdivia's dream is to succeed where other Spaniards have failed, to become the conqueror of Chile. The natives of Chile are fearsome warriors, and the land is rumored to be barren of gold, but this suits Valdivia, who seeks only honor and glory. Together, the lovers Inez Suarez and Pedro de Valdivia will build the new city of Santiago, and they will wage a bloody, ruthless war against the indigenous Chileans. Oh, jeez. So that's not cool. The fierce local Indians, led by the chief Michimalonco, and the even fiercer Mapuche from the south. The horrific struggle will change them forever, pulling each of them towards their separate destinies. So, I'm not sure if I'm going to like Inez and Pedro in this book, because it sounds like they're going to be doing some pretty crappy stuff. But so that is the end of the books that I have to show you. And so for this month's giveaway, I am giving away now, if you have been on my channel before, you have likely seen my rant review for this book, but I have gotten a few comments from people who loved this book, and that's awesome for you. I hated this book, but I figured different tastes, a book that I hated, maybe you'll love. So I am giving away Destiny by Sally Bowman. Let me read the back blurb for you. There was no reason on earth why they should have ever met. Edouard de Chevigny has known love, loss, disillusionment, and betrayal. Now he is the ruler of a financial empire, a man admired by his friends, feared by his rivals, famed for his ease in attracting women, and notorious for his ease in leaving them. Helene Craig was raised in rural Alabama by a romantic British war bride who fostered in her child dreams of a gentler world. When Helene's illusions die in the violence of a sultry July afternoon, #Justice for Billy, she vows to become rich, free, and invulnerable, and someday to exact her revenge. About that. Edouard and Helene, they meet on a Paris street, and their love seems to them undeniable, inevitable. What they cannot know is that the paths that brought them together started not in Paris, not in Alabama, but in London on a night ablaze with Nazi war bombs, and that before them lie years of public glamour and private pain, of unfolding truths and enmeshing lies, of ambitions gained and chances lost. Destiny spans 3 decades and worlds as separate as the decadent villas of Algiers on the eve of revolution, the South in the early days of civil rights unrest, the fairy tale magnificence of a French chateau, the sheltered mansions of Hollywood, teeming with a strong and passionate cast of characters. Destiny will mesmerize, beguile, and capture you in its riveting, unbreakable spell. I loved the first half of this book. loved it. I hated the second half of this book. Hated it. However, I give it away to one of you now. Maybe you will absolutely adore this book. So, if you would like to be entered to win this book, just leave me a comment, and I will pick a winner. And make sure that you're subscribed, because I will pick a winner in August's book haul. And I will leave my email in the description of that video, so that the winner will contact me with their mailing address in August's book haul. So you have to watch that video, because I will not contact the winner in the description. You have to be subscribed and watch the video. And the only way that I know that you're subscribed and have watched the video is if you contact me via the email that I will put in the description. So that's how this works. Because the point of doing the book giveaways is not only to lessen the piles that I have here, but is for you to watch the video. So, if you would like to be entered to win, leave a comment on this video, this July book haul video, and then make sure that you're subscribed and you watch August's book haul video to see if you won, because my email address will be in the description for that video, and you contact me through that video, through the description, the email in that video. You will contact me with your mailing address. So again, I will not contact you if you won. You have to watch the video and contact me. So, because I've had where they just wait until like I put their username in the description to let them know that they no. I would like you, if you're subscribed to me, I would assume that you're subscribed to me because you like my videos, you like the content that I provide, and you would like to watch my videos. So that's what the purpose of these book haul giveaways are. So again, make sure that you're subscribed and you watch August's video if you have commented that you like to win. So again, if you would like to win, leave a comment in this July book haul video, and then watch August's book haul video to see if you won, because that's when I pick the winners. So that is going to be it for this week's video. Follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/authorejamie. Like my Facebook page at facebook.com/authorejamie, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye!